And just so it's on the record, I didn't record the very beginning where we started the meeting and did say the pledge.
And then
So
went
it's
to-
on
Thanks for
record.
clarifying.
And then we went into
To
executive
go on
session.
record with that.
And then we're on record as having an executive session, which we are now returning from.
Yeah, exactly, so there we go. So the next thing we have is approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any questions on the minutes from the last meeting? All the time will be over to me, so I think we'll just say those are approved. We have a privilege of the floor. Crystal, did you want to say anything or anybody else in privilege of the floor? Okay, we're gonna whip through this meeting this time, so, review the financial reports. I don't know if everybody got a chance to look at them. I did my fabulous, finding of things that are negative, so, I noticed, there's in the park section there, that AA 100, 710, 131, the personal services part-time is negative.
Yep, I have a resolution for that.
So what is that? Do you know what that was?
I believe so the personal services part-time, so Lindsay had, I think, utilized staff that were budgeted in that budget line versus some of the staff that were in the laborers part-time seasonal, so she's
Okay.
it just
Got transposed.
different.
Okay.
Well, no, just different staff. I think she used her part-time people more than she used her seasonal.
I see some people.
And so we're just gonna move, and that's actually what the budget transfer is gonna be.
Okay, cool. The next negative I had was the, in the DA 100s, the hospital medical buyout is in the negative. Are you familiar with
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
well, those are, so and then the A fund, it's also in the negative.
Yeah.
Those are ones that we kind of wait closer to the end of the year, and then we'll do a budget adjustment for the contingency to.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that we knew they were in the negative.
Yeah.
And then everything else I think was pretty hunky-dory.
Yep.
Pretty much, unless you got anything else you want to. You said there are gonna be some resolutions to,
So Yeah, I have a resolution like the one I spoke of, so we'll be taking money from the parks laborers part-time seasonal line and putting it into the part-time parks line, the 131. And then also, our parks maintenance assistant line, will be overspent by the end of the year due to some overtime. Lindsay asked that we do a transfer from the gatehouse attendance line because they're done and she has money left in that budget, so.
awesome.
Yeah, I've got two also.
Two, okay,
One in A for traffic contractual for the road striping,
okay,
which I don't know, I had 13,000 to cover that. We got the final invoice. Then one in water was just low, or is it over just 1 week over?
I think it's low.
It's slow, yeah. Service and maintenance gets the rest of the year.
okay.
So
I think your machinery contractual line is over again.
no, we should be 5142, not 51. We can look.
Okay,
Okay. Something we might have to recode something.
okay,
Put it-
all right.
I'll get that.
Yep.
So,
Okay, awesome. Can I switch H and I here and talk about the 3+1 update first, and then before we talk about capital planning, is that all right?
Mhm.
So, what else going on with 3+1?
So I was just moving stuff around today. So currently, 3+1, they went and they did an analysis and they found that historically we keep about $4.5 million in our checking account, earning a whopping 0.5% interest. That we never use and we never touch and we never go down that low. So today I transferred 3.183 million into Muni Trust, which is the new what we now can use New York class and we can use Muni Trust. Doing this allows us to kind of keep those separate a little bit. So this is for more of the what are these guys? These are some more like the bid, Suckerbrook, some of the funds that we have that had been staying in safe and checking in that account. Now they're in Muni Trust and they'll earn about 4%, 4.5% interest versus that 0.5%. And they figured that could be, you're looking at a significant amount, $100,000 extra in interest per year, just by doing that. So that's one thing we did. Muni Trust, same day liquidity. So if you need it, we can get it back. Muni Trust is all New York, which is nice, and then we talked about that, that's the Dreyfus people who talked to us, and we talked about that when we added them into our policy.
It has same day liquidity?
Yeah.
We put almost everything in there.
New York,
Yeah.
We're gonna-
because those rates, well, as far as day-to-day funding.
Yeah.
But those rates also fluctuate, so we're
Yeah.
trying to balance that with long-term.
But it never goes negative, right?
Right, it's like a municipal, it's like a,
Yeah. Muni bonds.
and then I also, transferred 2 million, pulled that out of New York class back into the bank. And we're going to be entering into a long-term CD agreement with Kennedy International to try to get some long-term protection. And they're bidding right now on an 18-month CD for us, so we'll have about 2 million in an 18-month.
Right, and then possibly in a couple weeks, another 2 million.
Yeah.
So,
Are we? The rate of return is on that?
For,
four,
Yeah.
5, somewhere in there.
it's less than the Muni Trust because of the market, but it's more than 4.2, but it's between 4.2 and 4.5.
Are we just doing that with CNB or are we also?
We bid out,
LNB as
we
well?
bid out to multiple banks and Canandaigua National, one wouldn't hold the rate because they misunderstood and they thought we were putting 4 million in, so they wouldn't honor the rate they gave. Canandaigua National was the second highest bid. So they were trying to get them to match what the other bank had. And it was why we added those 5 banks to our policy,
Mhm.
because they usually have the highest rates. So we bid them. So Lions didn't even bid on them for 18 months. But right now, they don't want to go out 18 months.
Mhm.
And they would only give us a good extended rate if we moved one of our checking accounts over to them, which at this point that's just all the checks, all the outstanding checks,
Right,
everything else.
right.
It creates a huge
Yeah.
issue
Yeah.
for a 0.2 difference or 0.3 difference on the
Yeah.
CD. We tried to take some business, but. So, any questions on that? So hopefully this will get us more layered, as far as our investments go and more protected. We'll always have a 30-day CD. We'll always be rolling those over, but we'll have this locked in long-term to protect us.
Take advantage of the high interest rate that others still paying on.
Well, they're still hanging out there.
I know,
Like
I've missed so
3G.
much investments that I should have done over the last 2 years.
Well,
It's too
And I
much.
think that's part of why the one bank wouldn't honor the rate, because the Feds met like the next day or something, so.
Yeah.
Big adjustment. John Falvo, we were talking about long-term capital planning. I'd like to at least try and get figured out a little bit of a schedule for how we wanna do this, because we have in my almost 3 years on the town board, we have a long history of saying that we're going to long-term capital plan, not long-term debt.
That's because you haven't had me on.
So I'd like to come up with a little bit more of a, I think we discussed before, our first step is asset identification, and you've got that, a start on that, but I think that's what we need to really determine first. So who and how and when do we wanna start doing that?
Well, so I talked to Jim, Jared and Jess, because that's basically 4 of us gonna be working on it. And we're not gonna be looking to meet probably till like January, because it's so much going on at the end of the year. Plus, we gotta, it would be nice to have the budget recap going, to know how much capital budgeting we're gonna be able to do. We did also talk about some of these long-term CDs being a part of our capital plan and strategy, so that we know that this money is locked in there for 18 months. So we're gonna be able to kind of use some of that as part of our capital planning. And so that's really been, just things have been busy the end of the year here, to where we're not able to actually sit down yet and take the time. It's gonna take probably about almost a day's worth of work to really get things going with the capital plan and budget. And I'd rather know what our financials are looking like to start allocating those, rather than, and doing that all at once, rather than having, you know, multiple meetings, just for the sake of meeting. So I would like to have the budget.
Identification doesn't have anything to do with the budget. so.
Well, it does, because we're just starting this, we're not gonna be able to cover all our assets right away with capital planning. We're gonna have to start off slow with a few things and then build into that, because if we were to take all our assets and start assigning monetary amounts to them for budgeting, I mean, we're gonna see another, you know,
It's gonna be
30-cent, 50-cent
Yeah,
increase for
it's a huge
2026.
And I also want to
So-
add that I think we need to look at our asset replacement policy. Also to go with this, not just what we're trying to plan, but like, I believe it should be a few shorter years on some stuff. So we can get a better return on it,
Yeah.
so that's be part of this discussion, I hope, so that we
Yes.
can make that a
Yeah.
better decision for our equipment down the road.
I mean, my timeline being able to kind of start sitting down and getting through this all would probably be January, more so than anything, because I also have the kind of moved up, really up the priority list as getting back in compliance with Department of Labor. So that's been taking a lot of my time, really. So whereas I thought maybe November, December, we could start discussing it, things kind of changed as far as the priority list, and January would be the goal. Get the budget recap, see what we got, be realistic with our assets on what we can currently include into our capital planning, and then what we can slowly start implementing. But I think the CD was a good thing when we discussed the other day, that having that long-term CD is gonna be a good.
What are we putting in that, by the way, so that we can't touch rate too much?
It's comprised of, some of our reserve funds that we don't, anticipate utilizing, part of the open space reserve. And we left some of it, in NICLAS because there's a possibly a
potential.
purchase.
Mhm.
The solid waste reserve, because it doesn't do anything with the creation of the transfer station. The New York State Retirement Reserve, we haven't needed that. And a chunk of contingent tax reserve.
No sense, we can't touch the reserves unless it's for that specific purpose.
Correct.
The interest that comes off it, that can be used anywhere,
No,
or does it have to stay in that?
the interest has to go towards the fund that's the money.
So those funds will just grow.
They'll keep growing.
Yeah.
So like in the instance of the transfer station, and we probably will never build, that'll just keep growing.
Correct.
We hope we never build it.
You know where we should build it? At the end of the album.
Oh my God, no.
Which end?
Exactly where you wanna start.
Exactly. That end.
There's
Wow.
something I never thought of, so if you have a reserve fund such as that, is there circumstances in which you can remove the monies from that reserve?
Well,
I guess we'd have to,
there's
look
gotta
into
be,
the-
You can.
We probably have to
Great
have a
mechanism.
referendum.
Right.
there's
Sure.
gotta be ways to move the money.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And reallocate it elsewhere.
I
But-
blame Terry, he started saving for that transfer station.
you never know.
December 5th is the
December
magic day.
5th. And there will be,
It just-
we will be spending the money on something.
There's
One way
gotta
or
be
the other.
an escape mechanism to get out from under that.
Yeah, there is.
Well,
If we're not gonna use it
Yeah.
in that area.
So we'll be doing something with it. But the other thing is, and I know where you're probably where you're getting it at, Lynn, with that is putting these reserve funds in there, pulling them from there. Let's say something happens
That's something.
and we need to spend that money. It's only an accounting measure. It's not really taking that money and locking it in there. It's saying, yeah, 400,000 comes from open space, but if something amazing came around, internal accounting, we could still access that 400 and just now say, well, that's no longer open space, that's a different fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we're using, that we're gonna say is in there now.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have the ability, if something, we're not totally closed off for
Yeah.
using that if opportunities present.
That was my only concern when investing in a long term was, and I had to reach out to, I reached out to the comptroller's office, I was put in contact with a bookkeeper in another town as well, because I wasn't sure, you know, are you allowed to move where the money comes from internally, without, you know,
Maybe
still
we
following
should
all the general practices.
ask
And that's
Chris Nadler or whomever,
Wasn't
how do you get out from under one of these?
A reserve.
What
I
is the
can-
process?
I can
Or
look,
no more?
the comptroller's office, I believe, actually in the board members, office, wherever Sue sits there, there's actually a comptroller's manual on
Mhm.
reserve funds.
Yeah, there
It
is.
may be in there, I haven't read it
It's
cover to
online.
cover, but, it may be in there, what, you know, what exceptions you can use.
It'd
for
be
I-
good to know.
I feel like I had that in a training, it's something like you have
Yeah.
to have a referendum of some kind
Yeah,
or something.
I would
so-
assume.
I would think you're right.
You have to have a referendum to
Yeah.
open it, you probably have to.
Mhm.
Do you think that's a permissive referendum or a?
There's
Or you-
permissive and
So
mandatory.
you have to do the permissive to spend, but I think you have to do a mandatory if you were
Well,
expanding it or
Rather
something like
than
that.
thinking
so.
you should know.
Yeah, we probably.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's in there.
But yes, I would not be concerned. Capital planning is on my mind and will always be. And so it will get accomplished.
Okay, good, cause you know, I gotta start making sure with me ditching town, I gotta make sure, you know, I'm gonna come in every once in a while and be like, where's the capital plan? Okay, well, if anybody doesn't have anything else for the good of the order, we can make ourselves all look pretty for the fabulous Athena Awards this evening and end a little early here, so. Anybody have anything else? All right, I will make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. See, definitely not 4 o'clock.